Chief Scout to Manchester United. Well, Mr. Armstrong, how did it all begin for you?
I came into football scouting because I ran a team called Cleveland in the Lemzoom district of Manchester. And were very successful, won a number of trophies and things. And a boy named Charlie Needham was playing for us, and Aston Villa took him, gave us a cheque for £35. Shortly after, Peter Hodge, who was then the manager of Manchester City, came to see me and asked me to give that up and do a bit of scouting for him, which I did. And shortly afterwards, the boss came to City, and that's where I first met him.
When you say the boss, Joe, tell us who you mean.
Oh, Sir Matt Busby. There's only one boss.
What sort of qualities do you need, would you say, Joe, to be a scout?
Well, I don't know. I think that scouting is a 60% luck. Who can say to anybody, a boy of 15, you'll be a great?
I remember, in fact, talking to Jimmy Murphy, Joe,
Yes.
whom he said, at United, we always look for a boy who's got educated feet.
That's it. The first thing you look for, in my opinion, is ball ability. If he hasn't got ball ability, you might as well leave him alone. Jimmy's exactly right. You see, I worked with Jimmy, and in my opinion, he taught me the job along with the boss, coupled with Bert Whalley. Now, the four of us together were the people who really formed the Busby Babes. There's no question about that. The boss, Jimmy, and Bert Whalley did the coaching. I went out looking. But in my day, you see, scouting was very, very hard because you were forbidden to approach a boy. And I'm afraid I did many things where I broke the rules.
Tell us some of those.
Well, I've waited round corners, travelled in trains where the teacher has actually been with the boy and by some method got to him. I can remember one boy who became an international in the hotel just outside Carlisle station. I'll always remember dodging in a toilet there and locking the door while the player concerned followed me in, and I was able to talk to him and then unlock and let him out.
Who was that, Joe?
Actually, it was McConnell, a good amateur international.
Indeed, yes.
Many years ago. I've done all kind of tricks like that. So have they all. Sometimes I've been lucky. Coming back from Portsmouth once, after England had played Era at Portsmouth, Bobby Charlton was in the team, and I got in the same carriage as Mr. and Mrs. Charlton, and all at once a large, tall schoolmaster got me in a corner and said, "Now then," he said, "I know who you are and I'm going to report you." I said, "Hey, wait a minute, in the West Lancashire, you know, there's such a thing as libel. I'm with these good people." And of course the two that were seated were Mr. and Mrs. Charlton, so I sat down next to them. Anyway, he buzzed off, but he didn't know that that was one of the beginnings of Charlton coming to Manchester United.
Looking back over the players you've picked in your time, which one in particular do you remember with the greatest pleasure discovering?
Bobby Charlton, naturally. Just let me instance you something, how good this man is. I was in hospital with I'd lost a lot of blood and I'd had a blood transfusion only a few weeks ago. And he was in Portugal one night at 5 o'clock. At 11 o'clock next morning, he was in the hospital seeing me. That's the kind of boy he is, even now. He's been the same with me ever since he was 15, since I first went to their house after him.
Looking back to that great side, Joe, before Munich, the Busby Babes.
Yes.
Duncan Edwards was a great mountain of a player, I think, both in stature and physique. What did you think of Duncan?
I agree with Jimmy Murphy. He's the greatest schoolboy ever. His dedication to the game. He worked, he came back in the afternoon to train. He didn't have to be told. He came back on his own many times.
Yes, interesting to hear you saying dedication, which is perhaps a word often forgotten, I think, these days.
It's number one. See, these boys today, at 15 they look world beaters. At 18 they don't want to know, because the game's too hard for them. You know what I mean? I know the boy that gets there early, and you can't throw him out of the ground. I know the boy that gets there late, and he's gone before anybody can say Jack Robinson. If the dedication's not there, they'll never make it.
So, looking ahead then, Joe, how do you see the future for Manchester United?
Oh, I see it that it will rise again just as good as it ever was. The one thing I regret now, you know, I'm forced to retire owing to this 2 attacks I've had recently. I know what's in the little net at the bottom, and I know in my own mind and from my own experience there's quite a few good ones.
Do you think there are golden days yet to come then?
Yet to come, yes.
Joe Armstrong, former chief scout for Manchester United. And while we were talking to him there, we heard that Surrey are now all out for 269. That means they've got their 4 batting points. They still need 2 more.